Hey internet friends! If you are searching for concrete proof of a new world order orchestrated by those who live in the shadow, look no further than Elberton, Georgia, where you'll find the enigmatic and imposing Georgia Guidestones. Located about an hour outside of Atlanta, these Guidestones and their anonymous author have been the center of fierce debate and intrigue, with its 10 guidelines for humanity, ranging from population control to a one-world government, all inscribed into the pyramid blue granite in 4 ancient scripts along the capstone, as well as 8 modern languages etched into the granite slabs. However, in this video, I'm gonna argue that there's another language to the Guidestones, partially inscribed in stone, though primarily composed of many moving parts, but to be decoded in layers by a very specific audience. Are you that audience, internet friends? Do you like puzzles? Mysteries? How about jokes? Make sure not to take the punchline for granted, and let's bust this boogeyman wide open.
And the story goes something like this. And the story goes something like this.
The year was 1979. That was the year the world's first anthrax epidemic occurred in Russia. Saddam Hussein became president of Iraq. China instituted its one-child-per-family policy. And in the small town of Elberton, Georgia, a man who called himself R.C. Christian was about to put the granite capital of the world to work on their biggest project yet. Mr. Christian approached the president of Elberton Granite Finishing Company, Joe Finley, with a seemingly kooky idea for a monument, not to be in memory of a person or an event, but intended to be a guide for the future, with a Stonehenge-like configuration of 6 astronomically aligned slabs, and the identity of the author of these guides to remain a mystery forever. As the story goes, Finley was understandably hesitant. Some fella with an obvious pseudonym showed up in his office with a weird idea and claimed to be representing a group of like-minded individuals. Finley knew this project wouldn't be cheap, and so Mr. Christian was then introduced to Wyatt Martin, the president of Granite City Bank, an eventual financial intermediary for the Guidestones project. While Mr. Christian explained that he chose his pseudonym because of his Christian faith, a real name was required to begin financing the project, making Wyatt Martin the only man involved in the Guidestones to know the true identity of R.C. Christian. The highest point in Elberton County was selected for the monument, a 5-acre plot of farmland where, after being pulled out of the 6-mile-wide quarry and customized to Mr. Christian's exact specifications, the 6 massive pyramid blue granite slabs would eventually rest alongside the time capsule buried 6 feet underground. Charlie Clamp, one of the workers who helped etch Mr. Christian's 10 guides into America's Stonehenge, went on record saying that he heard strange music and disjointed voices as he carved the guides, an account that Clamp's son has been quick to dismiss, stating that those disjointed voices his father heard were frustrated workers, cursing as they chipped away at Elberton's biggest undertaking. Unveiled on March 22, 1980, the Guidestones not only featured 10 guides of living in multiple languages, the majority of which were reportedly translated by the United Nations, but the monument itself served as a guide for multiple purposes, with features that allowed the stones to be utilized as both a clock and a calendar, as detailed on the explanatory tablet beside the stones, also including a description of the sponsors, a curious misspelling of the word pseudonym, and a bit of a twisted teaser indicating a time capsule buried on the plot of land, to be opened at a time that has yet to be specified. These Guidestones have been a point of outrage ever since their unveiling, due to their support of a one-world government, hinting at state-guided eugenics, and a global language like that which existed under King Nimrod during the construction of the Tower of Babel. In addition to their controversial message, rumors have swirled about the sponsors, though reportedly one of the terms upon the monument's completion was that the builders destroyed the letters and records of Mr. Christian, so that no trace of the sponsors may ever be known. The secrecy has only fueled curiosity and speculation, and over the decades, fingers have been pointed at individuals like media mogul, CNN founder, and one of North America's largest landowners, Ted Turner, as well as Scientology founder L. Ron Hubbard as being responsible for the Guidestones. However, as time went on, it appeared that the Guidestones were still very much a work in progress. In 1986, just 6 years after the Guidestones were erected, common sense renewed, Yet another nod to deist Thomas Paine was published by Robert C. Christian and reportedly distributed to several thousand political officials and shapers of public opinion throughout the world. In this text, Mr. Christian addressed open-minded citizens with a series of essays about looking to common sense to find pathways to peace, claiming that the Guidestones were erected to convey certain ideas across time to others. His main focus in Common Sense Renewed was the need to control human reproduction, as he stated that reproduction should no longer be an exclusively personal matter between two individuals due to the world's alleged overpopulation problem. Mr. Christian advocated eugenics and paraded abortion as a lesser evil option amongst other evils, like unfit parents bringing a child into the world. Mr. Christian's philosophy has been criticized as being in direct conflict with what he claims to be, a Christian. Though perhaps the United Nations, who translated Mr. Christian's guides into multiple languages, was a big fan of his essays, because in 1992, the United Nations Agenda 21 was signed by the United States. Agenda 21 is a lengthy document listing goals to be achieved globally, and is the global plan to change the way we live, eat, learn, and communicate, with a hefty focus on sustainable development in an effort to save the environment. Sustainable development claims to be concerned with the environment, but there are many indications that this is an agenda to restructure the world's government, making all citizens subject to the global control. More clues that the sponsors haven't abandoned the monument appeared in 2014, when an engraved cube was added to the Guidestones. But not too long after it was added, it was destroyed by the groundskeeper, with pieces of the cube given to filming bystanders.
And the story goes something like this.
So why did Mr. Christian and his shadowy group of sponsors select Elberton, Georgia as the monument's location, and what was their true motivation for this monument? Elbert County is named after Samuel Elbert, a soldier of the American Revolution, governor of Georgia, and admitted Freemason, serving as both a member and Grand Master at two different Masonic lodges in Georgia. Elberton is located between Dewey Rose and Sandy Cross, Georgia, 100 miles from Atlanta, the state capital located on the 33rd parallel, in the state where the Federal Reserve came to fruition. The Freemason connection doesn't end there. The monument was built by admitted Freemasons like Joe Finley and his crew. From the astronomical functions to an emphasis on numerology, modern Freemasonry evolved from the guilds of stonemasons of the Middle Ages, and is now the largest worldwide fraternal secret society. It's been dubbed Zionism for Gentiles, because if you eliminate the teachings of Judaism from the Masonic ritual, well, there's not a lot left. But more importantly, there is a direct connection between Freemasonry and the ancient Babylonian mystery religions, from which the ancient pagan religions of Egypt, Persia, Greece, and Rome eventually developed. These Freemasons are believers in everything old. They thrive in secret, studying at invisible colleges behind the scenes of ordinary life. And while most Freemasons are low-level Masons who join for social memberships and brotherhood, the reality is there are high-ranking Masonic officials within every level of our government. They are the hidden masters who translate their philosophy into legislation. Furthermore, it's been speculated that the Rosicrucians also had a hand in building the Georgia Guidestones. Rosicrucianism is a worldwide brotherhood claiming to possess esoteric wisdom handed down from ancient times, and is closely linked to Freemasonry. Elberton, being located between Dewey Rose and Sandy Cross, Georgia, as well as the RC and RC Christian pseudonym, is our hat tip of a clue that Rosicrucians might have had a hand in building the Guidestones, as these hints reflect their rose and cross symbolism. What unites these two secret societies is their practice of working through both symbol and ritual. Any mention of Masonic or secret societal influence in government or popular culture is typically dismissed as the ramblings of a crazy conspiracy theorist. But here we have the Guidestones, concrete proof of their influence, with their symbols glinting back at us from these stones. Thus, followers of the occult are attracted to this site, much to the displeasure of one local Elberton minister, who expressed fear that cattle or even a person would be sacrificed on top of the Guidestones. His worries predated the actual stain on top of the stones, which might very well be an intentional splatter of paint or some kind of mildew problem. But nonetheless, every year all sorts of occult types visit the granite capital of the world to view this monument, which is interesting because granite is magnetic. And occultists are drawn to this area like they have been to Stonehenge or even the Egyptian pyramids, fueled by the belief that these sites are connected by ley lines or links between the aforementioned landmarkers said to contain electromagnetic energy, like landmarks on an energy highway of sorts. While Freemasons did take credit for building the Guidestones, the documentary Dark Clouds Over Elberton actually tracked down two individuals whom they believe were behind the R.C. Christian pseudonym, the misspelling of which, at least on the explanatory tablet beside the Guidestones, spells out untarnished conspiracy. Obviously, major spoilers ahead. Discovered through saved letters in banker Wyatt Martin's old IBM computer case, filmmakers identified friends Robert Merriman and Dr. Herbert Hensey Kirsten of Fort Dodge, Iowa, as the sponsors of the Guidestones. Robert worked at a publishing company and was presumably the individual who published Common Sense Renewed. Dr. Kirsten, whose last name is German for Christian, was a Catholic medical doctor who was ironically very passionate about birth control as a means of population control. A little bit of digging revealed that Dr. Kirsten was allegedly a eugenicist who wanted to create a measurement tool for race supremacy. And while that documentary wrapped up the mystery very nicely, what was most interesting to me about this alleged discovery was not the individuals in question, but that Fort Dodge, Iowa, where the Cardiff Giant, one of the greatest hoaxes of the 19th century, was carved from stone, just so happened to be the home of our Guidestone boogeyman, R.C. Christian. Which brings us to the final part of this video. Have you ever seen a card trick? The magician relies on audience participation in order for the trick to work. If the audience learns how the trick is done, it's no longer emotionally captivating, entertaining, or really even interesting. The magician has no power. Such is the case with the Georgia Guidestones. A mystery always holds sway over those who don't understand it. It doesn't matter who built the Georgia Guidestones. There is no Guidestones boogeyman. Because the punchline is, American taxpayers fund the Georgia Guidestones. The land that the Guidestones is on is owned by the government. They want you to talk about the Guidestones boogeyman. This monument is the work of the same mind control cult who pushes their agenda by means of deception and distraction. They leave a never-ending trail of bread and circuses for those they view as human cattle. Cattle who will be herded into divisive debates over American Civil War monuments being torn down, while the Guidestones are left untouched. And these cattle will be prodded into discussing and accepting the depopulation agenda through programming, in the form of the latest Marvel's Avengers movie. The goal is for the cattle to love their servitude. The goal is for the cattle to never dream of revolution. To tell you how this trick works, to name this secret, is to destroy it. No dynamite or vandalism necessary. Thank you all so much for watching. You know I always look forward to your comments.